Christine Blanchette. Look at me. I get to spend so much time with this woman. We are super fortunate. She lives in our city. And if you do not know Christine Blanchette, she is one of our celebrity speakers today. She's always a celebrity. You have to follow her and watch this woman's life. You're going to go, I want to do what she does. So she is a TV producer, a host, an educator, an international best-selling author. We're so fortunate that well, we met actually in a book project. There you go. You meet the coolest people in a book project. She's now in the 262. My son did his first TV interview with her show. I cannot tell you enough how popular it is. Anyways, she's the creator and producer and host of BC's only running fitness and health TV show called Run With It. She is also the creator of a music show called The Closing Act, which has a bit of a funny story if you know Nick Gilder. And she has a monthly show profiling musicians. It is the monthly show profiling musicians, creatives, and CEOs. And today she's going to talk a little bit more personal. And she's decided to share something more personal that she hasn't shared before, and that is how she dealt with an eating disorder. Now, oddly enough, and yay enough, she loves chocolate and poutine. And if you don't know what poutine is, you need to come to Canada and visit up, because we're not going to tell you what it is. You got to order it when you get here. The music that she loves right now is Celine Dion, another incredible Canadian woman, and it is called I Am Alive. And for one lucky listener, if you don't know how this works, you better listen, because we're going to ask you a question. And if you are the first to answer, she is going to give you an incredible VIP gift worth $5,000 to hang out with Christine on some online training where she teaches running and walking. And everyone is going to get her PDF. She's going to put it in the chat later about just how to stick to your program, like stick to what it is you're doing. So, dear friend, how are you today? And thank you for coming back to our wonderful stage.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. And you are such a gracious host, and it's so exciting to be here again. So thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, should we get into it a little bit? I mean, most people, when I share about eating disorder or something like that, when people start to share, first of all, I just want to say congratulations on the bravery, because you know, there's so many people that people know. I mean, if you don't know Christine, she walks pretty well every red carpet of this country. And when people see people in places of success, they, one, sometimes forget about the journey that took to get there, and two, don't really know the overcomings. And so it always seems a little bit surprising. And sometimes it's difficult to make that decision when you're at that place of success or you have those accolades, to kind of let people in. So thank you so much for sharing. And it's really helpful to people. I'm sure that's one of your reasons for doing that. But like, when did you realize that you had an eating disorder? When did you realize that what you were doing wasn't serving you?
Yeah, I mean, it just took a while, because I think, I love food, but then I it just triggered one day when someone said to me, well, you look a little heavy, and just something like that just triggered. And I thought, oh my goodness, I'm taking this jazz class in college. And I looked around and everyone was so thin and tiny. And I thought, oh my goodness, I have hips. I need to work out, or I need to lose some weight. But it was just that trigger of saying, that, I should lose a bit of weight or look a bit thinner. And I was in dance. And then it all started when the dance instructor, it was jazz I was taking, oh, are you okay? Because I started losing weight. And I thought, I look good, I feel good, I feel confident. The more weight I lost, I felt, as I said, more confident. And I didn't realize until my mom, even my mom said, oh, you're looking really thin. And I was in school, working as a school cross guard and taking a lot of classes and just working. And so my mom said, oh, we should go to the doctor. So I went to the doctor and just said, we have a problem. And I said, no, I didn't really realize that until I was hospitalized. Until that day, I woke up and the sun was shining, and I was writing in my journal. I thought, I'm here, and it just went off like a light bulb. I do have it, but it took hospitalization and for me to really understand that I had this problem, and not really a problem, but something that was so deep. And it's just started. It's just that trigger of that someone said that it just went like that. And I don't know if this makes sense, but it just triggered when I was in the hospital, like I need to help myself. But I didn't really realize until then. And it was 84 pounds. And why I'm talking about it, because it's still deep as I'm talking to you all now, but I find that the more you talk about it, the education out there, the awareness, and it's not women, it's men too, that it affects. But yes, and I hope that's a long-winded answer, Deb, but
No,
um,
this is a
it,
long, this is a winding
yeah,
conversation because um eating disorders can be so tricky in the sense of, a lot of times when there's an issue, whether it's shopping or, people that quit drinking and they don't ever have to drink. But the thing with eating disorders is that you need to learn to have a healthy relationship with something that's not served you or that's been abused the body or depleted. And there's a lot of different conversations that can happen just around eating disorder. So I don't think it's long and windy. And I've heard so many times, I mean, I've been in support of an association that works with eating disorders. And how many times have I heard it was one person that said this, and
mm-hmm,
someone said, "Ooh, you don't look so good in those jeans," or da 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 da. Now it's not the only reason I think things proceed, and also in dance. So I've had many family members in dance, and way back in the day, there was very much a picture of how you needed to be in that part of business, in dance, what you had to be and all of that. So I think it's not a long answer, and I think it's everything for everybody. And having that moment, like having that moment, people are like, oh my gosh, 84 pounds. Some people it's 120 pounds. Some people it's less than that. Some people, and it does roll over to be a medical condition.
yes, yes, even the saying the words 84, it's like it hits me like I can't believe I was that thin. But it took support. It took therapy, a lot of therapy, and having faith that it'll be okay, believing in myself. And I think another thing too is what really wanted me to come back was running. And I thought, I can't run until I get better because I mean, I wasn't strong enough at the time. But then as I properly fueled my body with nutritious food, now I said at the beginning, chocolate and puts in like I eat healthy, but I do like my food, sweets, not too much sweet, but yeah, I thought I got to get back on track and start running, and but it took therapy. It took a while with therapy. I would say about a year generally. But it was being support. That support is so, so important. And um and running saved me. I know it's something like I talked a little bit earlier about my story, but it wasn't as what I'm deep diving here, if I may say.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so that was a point. So I went on to run, and running, as I said, saved me. I look back now and I think, well, how could that be with exercise and and eating? But in order for me, as I said, for me to get there, I had to feed my body, even though I didn't want to eat at the beginning, right? It's a process, and um, yeah, and it's a stigma at the point, and so, oh, you have an eating disorder, you have an anorexia nervosa. I don't really, there's more awareness now talking about this, and um, you know, I, I feel if I can help someone, that it's okay to be vulnerable, it's okay to share, because that's how we're going to get support and inspiration and help. So that's why I'm here to share my story with you all.
Well, we appreciate it because I think with certain stigmas, you're calling it a stigma or what have you. people, I think we've moved from the generation of like, just eat or just get it together or just stop doing that or just start doing that. Like there's a lack of understanding. And I think that also adds to the not wanting to share. Some people would say they felt ashamed or embarrassed, or why don't I have the control, or why don't I have the ability to to take care, to monitor my own body. Right. It's like and it does take time. From the time that you decided to get help, how long did it really take for you till you were able to get traction and integrate your life back to where you feel like you had a handle on things?
Well, the therapy was about, I would say about a year, but it took longer than that. Like it's when you're out of therapy, you have to be careful. You have to, um, it's still, I mean, I still think about it and I'm okay now. I really am. But I would say generally like 3 years, like it's a process. You really have to take these baby steps and be really patient with yourself. Um, learning to love your body all over again, just to accept you. I have hips and I'm proud of my hips. I don't, and it was just being, confident with who I am and not, comparing myself to others. And, my quote, be who you are, there's no one like you, which is in your book, Deb, Planner. And, but yeah, I mean, it's very, some people may take longer, but for me, it took that amount of time. And yeah, that was, about that length of time.
Um, it sounds like you had a lot of support and people that were surrounding you. That's so important. You said, out of all of the things that it takes to recognize that something's not right, what can be done about something not right, other people giving you advice like doctors that you're like, I got, what was kind of maybe the biggest challenge for you in this whole experience to date?
To admit,
Mm.
to admit I have a problem. I keep saying problem, but I have, I don't know, it's just not understanding where it triggered from. At the beginning, I thought, wow, that happened because it said I'm fat or I don't look like the rest. But admitting to it, admitting that you have a problem, you have this, you have to do something about that. But the support really, really, really helps. And just being patient with yourself and reach out. I think it's not just me talking here today. There's, you know, um, people who want to, think you may have an eating disorder. Is best to, go to a professional. And it took my mom taking me to a psychotherapist, to go through. And at the time, I didn't want to, admit, right? But admitting, and a long story short to your question, Deb.
I don't know. It's always the gems come in the long stories, so feel free to share. I mean, that's what we're here doing, right? You're so, I mean, what advice would you give to others?
That's a very, very good question. But I think, if I may say, go to someone that you can trust, knowing that if someone does say that to you, knowing it's coming from a place of love, coming from a place of support. But also, really trust the person who is trying to help you. You may go and say, oh, there's nothing. And it could be like anything, really could be something else. But I do believe that, go to someone who supports, like my mom. I said, oh, I don't really want to go. I don't think I have a problem. I don't have a problem. I was angry. I was very angry. I said, how dare you? But I do think, and then there is a lot of support out there. It's just really trusting the person who is that, that you feel confident about going to. And I hope that helps.
It
mean,
does. And I think, you know what, thank you for sharing about the anger part, because I think, haven't we, I'm not going to say haven't we all, but there's times when you need to give a friend, or you want to give a friend some tough love. And why we don't sometimes say things that we need to say or want to say, or someone needs to say, is because we're afraid that person's not going to like us anymore or love us anymore, or it's going to risk the friendship, or going to risk the relationship.
yes.
Um, and that's a really tough place to be, right? So I imagine that would have been a difficult moment for your mom. You're like, you're not happy. Most parents want their kids to like them. They want to tip it over. But I think it's good to talk about how, you were angry, and because I don't think anyone wants to go, oh yay, look at me, I've got something that
Yeah.
I've got to deal with. Oh yippee, let's go to the therapist and figure this out. Awesome. Couldn't imagine anything better. Let's not go shopping at the mall today. So I think it's a difficult admittance, but sometimes other people have to reflect back to us. I know that when we had a family member that was in that situation, we manipulated a doctor appointment. We lied basically and said we were going for a different reason, and the doctor was on board. And just even sharing some statistics that were outside the circle. Hey, statistically speaking, this might be going on for you, and just trying to do it in a manipulative way. But manipulation can have its advantages, I guess.
Yes.
But thank you for sharing that. I mean, I know that it's kind of time to wrap up, and I want to give you that opportunity to say, like, to share, like, one, how is it for you to share this, and is there anything else that while you're sharing that you want to make sure that you do?
No, thank you. I mean, I call it therapy. If I can, like today, it's therapeutic just to share my story. And it's, I mean, it's not easy to share, but I'm telling you how it went. I am okay, I'm running well, I'm eating healthy, I'm having my chocolates. I can't say what it is because I'm not supposed to, but it's one of my favorite dishes, and I would love to help people. I if there's someone who'd like to talk to me, I'm more than happy. I can tell you from my own experience, I'm not an expert, but um, yeah, it was just very therapeutic to talk about it. And thank you everyone for listening to me today and watching as well.
No, absolutely. I think that it takes people to be able to sit up and share. And that's what I was talking earlier about. Sometimes we forget that, celebrities are people too, that there's other people out there. Too many times women suffer silently in
Mhm.
many different areas of our life. We also do a big number on the comparison meter, right? So you're looking around the gym at the time, or the dance studio, and we're doing this comparative thing. We do it financially, we do it with our bodies, we do it with our relationships. Sometimes we do it with our parenting and all sorts of things. So I think it's important to, as a part of collaboration and kind of being sisterly, to share everything that we can. So just a heart-centered round of applause, and we thank you and honor you for being here today and sharing that. So hopefully you feel that love.
Yeah.
Tony, I'm going to pass it over to you to share, and thank you, Christine. Love you so much.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yes, thank you, Christine. I was the PR director for an eating disorder program for 7 years, and I listened to so many stories. And the one that really stood out for me is, I don't know if you know Karen Carpenter's story,
Yes.
and the media was just brutal to her, and she ended up becoming anorexic and unfortunately passing away. And she was less than 90 pounds. And when I was talking to one of these women that was going through our program, we were just having a conversation. She said, I looked at Karen Carpenter on the front of People magazine, and they had a picture of her and at her worst. And she said, I just wanted to be as skinny as her, but not die. So it's just, Karen didn't have the support of other women like you do now. And Karen didn't have the opportunity to share because the world really wasn't looking at it that way. So kudos to you for sharing your story, because you just never know who you're going to help out there. So appreciate that.